Mother-in-law, I bought a luxurious cake. Would you like to eat with us?
The daughter-in-law shows me a box of cake in her right hand with an unusually lively expression. Despite having ignored me for the past month, she suddenly wants to celebrate. It's perplexing.
Isn't it your birthday today, Mom? We thought we'd like to celebrate with you.
My son, who smiles and speaks these words, seems alien to me. There was a reason why I couldn't accept their words of wanting to celebrate with sincerity. I know both my son and his wife think of me as a nuisance. It's too good to be true, even if it's my birthday. I should have declined clearly, saying sorry, I'm not up for it today. But I got swept up in their enthusiasm and ended up saying thank you. Oh, I'm falling right into their trap. I must avoid this situation at all costs. I will punish them, who think I'm a fool. I discreetly pulled out my phone from my pocket so they wouldn't notice. My name is Susan. I am a 72-year-old housewife. My husband passed away 5 years ago. Luckily, he was the founder of a major restaurant chain and left me a considerable amount of inheritance, which is now supporting my life. However, I know that money can quickly run out if wasted, so I use it wisely. Thank you, dear. It's my daily routine to give thanks to my husband's altar every morning. There's no doubt that the reason I can still live normally after my beloved husband's death is thanks to the wealth he left behind. For a year after my husband passed away, it was too much for me both physically and emotionally, and I couldn't even eat properly. Even in front of my favorite cake, I couldn't muster the desire to eat. It was my son, John, who supported me through that time. I have a son and a daughter, Mayo, but my daughter hasn't been home since she had a big fight with me the year my husband passed away. She just had a baby and was desperate, and I had no capacity to spare, so we couldn't be considerate of each other. As a result, she went back to her husband and children's home and hasn't shown her face since then. I suppose my grandchild is now 5 years old, but I don't even know what she looks like now. On the other hand, my son and his wife, Mary, took care of me.
I know it's tough for you, Mom, so leave things around you to us.
Susan, please let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
They both lived in a condominium in the next town, but after my husband died, they suggested we want to live together. However, no matter how lonely I am after losing my husband, I can't interfere with their private life. And moving costs are not a small matter. The last thing I wanted was to burden my children. No, it's fine. You guys have helped me enough, so please continue living in your condominium. Even though I emphasized this, they forcibly moved into my house. I felt very sorry, but I was also so grateful to them. Thanks to their willingness to take on the housework, I managed to regain my spirits and recover my usual rhythm. Looking back now, my fate may have been off course from this point on. It's too late to regret now, though. 5 years have passed since John and Mary started living with me. I had heard that Mary was a lady from a wealthy family, but she was a bit absent-minded and spacey. She would spill the dishes she had set, or run the washing machine twice in a row. These are small things, but there were many times when I thought, is she okay? Each time, she would joke and apologize, saying, I did it again, sorry. Since she was usually kind to me, I didn't have any particular complaints. So I had been living amicably with John and Mary, but I started feeling uncomfortable since about a month ago. The first time I thought something's off was when the dinner I had prepared for the 3 of us during the day was completely gone by the time I got home. Normally, my son and his wife both work full-time. I'm over 70, but I find it easier on my mind to go out and work than to stay cooped up. at home all the time, so I've been working part-time for a few hours each day. Since John and Mary don't have time in the morning as they leave for work, it's become a daily routine for me to prepare dinner at noon. That day, my job ran late, and when I came home, there was no food left in the fridge. When I asked John and Mary, they replied, we don't know. We only ate our portion. Susan, could it be that you're starting to become senile? We only had 2 servings today, so we thought you'd be eating out. She feigned innocence. No matter how old I am, I would never forget about the meal I made. I thought it might be some sort of prank and waited for the punchline, but neither John nor Mary mentioned anything of the sort. Instead, this incident was the beginning of subtle harassment from John and Mary.
Speaking of which, Mom, this house was bought 30 years ago, wasn't it? There's no mortgage anymore, right?
I would love to live in such a wonderful house.
They began to show their intentions to take over the house with their actions, sometimes changing the furniture, arrangement and taste without regard to my opinion. I was saddened to see my ideal home, which my husband and I had built together, gradually changing to their liking. Even when I told them that shelf was Father's favorite, Mary brushed it off with, but let's replace this old shelf with a new fashionable one. It will match better. Originally, Mary came from a wealthy family, and she must have lived in a much more wonderful house than this ordinary one. I began to suspect that they were really short of money, despite their seeming lack of desire for this house. Even though they were both working, they seemed to have no money. What on earth were they using it for? I found their behavior suspicious and attempted to observe them. But a month passed without me being able to figure out exactly what they were spending their money on. I was still being ignored by the 2 of them, and my opinions were no longer even reflected in the decisions about the house. Even so, I still felt grateful to John and Mary, who had taken care of me since my husband passed away. Especially Mary, who had been living with her mother-in-law. Something she must have hated, had willingly lived with me. I couldn't do anything to harm that kindness now. So, at that point, I thought I mustn't do anything to upset them, no matter what they did to me. But an event occurred that shook my determination. One night, I was thirsty in the middle of the night, so I left my room to get a drink of water in the living room. The kitchen is in the back of the living room, but when I opened the door, I saw John and Mary sitting on the sofa and stopped my hand that was opening the door.
Susan is quite thick-skinned. Despite all this harassment, she still doesn't notice. Is she clueless?
Hey, it's only been a month or so, right? If she gives up this easily, our plan will be ruined.
I know. It was tens of millions, wasn't it? Or maybe more. We can get that much money.
That's right. If you can just endure it, Father's inheritance will be ours.
We won't have to struggle anymore. And I want to end this cohabitation as soon as possible. Initially, I felt sorry for Susan, so I agreed to live together. But living with a mother-in-law is mentally exhausting.
I felt a dull impact in my head. Mary sighed deeply, crossing her legs. John gave a disgusting chuckle. Realizing that John and Mary were plotting something outrageous, I was frozen on the spot. They had been kind to me so far just to steal my husband's inheritance. I couldn't believe that there was such a plot behind their kind words of, "It must be tough." The feeling of betrayal was all the stronger because they had been kind to me. I didn't force them to live together. In fact, I initially refused because I didn't want to cause any trouble. It was them who insisted on living together, and I didn't think I was at fault. Was this their whole purpose? Remembering what they had done for me so far made my head feel like it was going crazy. If I continue to live in ignorance, not only will I be evicted from this house, but my husband's precious inheritance will also be taken away. I absolutely don't want that. I'm not going to let them have their way. Knowing that John and Mary were now my enemies, I decided to ask my friends and neighbours to monitor their activities. Then, I uncovered their secrets that I could not have discovered on my own. My son, it turned out, frequented a casino to and from work, squandering away money. As for my daughter-in-law, it seemed she wasn't even going to work at all. For some reason, she was pretending to go to work every day and seemed to be shopping for expensive accessories and clothing at department stores. I had never seen the items she bought at home, so she must have been hiding them somewhere I didn't know. According to an acquaintance who saw Mary buying all kinds of high-end brand products, she's like a possessed beast. She's definitely a shopping addict. In other words, it seemed that the act of purchasing itself was the goal, not a desire to wear brand items. This also meant no matter how much she bought, she would never be satisfied. No wonder they were running out of money. I shivered to learn they had such extravagant habits. Since discovering John and Mary's secrets, I had not been able to live peacefully. As I was mentally pushed to the edge, wondering how to escape their mistreatment, I received a call on my seldom-rung smartphone. The call was from an unknown mobile number. While wondering who it could be, I pressed the call button and put my smartphone to my ear. Hello.
Hello, Mom?
Hearing the familiar voice from the other end of the phone, I inadvertently let out a surprised, "Huh, Mayo, is that you, Mayo?"
Yeah. Long time no see.
Surprisingly, the caller was my daughter, Mayo, with whom I had fallen out and lost contact 5 years ago. What's gotten into you all of a sudden? You haven't contacted me at all until now?
Well, you're the same, aren't you? Please, no nagging. It's been a while since we've spoken.
Indeed, what my daughter said was true. Back then, both Mayo and I were overwhelmed, and a small fight escalated beyond control. But now 5 years had passed, and I was gradually getting over the sadness of losing my husband. According to Mayo, her child had turned 5 and she was finally calming down. She said she remembered me at that moment and decided to reach out. Feeling desperate due to John and Mary's actions, I couldn't help but be overwhelmed by hearing my daughter's voice after such a long time. I sniffled, trying not to let Mayo hear it, but it seems it was audible. She got worried and asked, "What's the matter?" For a moment, I hesitated whether to tell her about my son and his wife. If I told her, it might cause unnecessary worry for Mayo, who was busy with childcare. But when Mayo kindly insisted, "I'm fine, so if something happened, tell me," I confessed everything about John and Mary trying to kick me out of the house and aiming for my husband's inheritance.
That happened.
"I'm sorry for bringing this up. It has nothing to do with you."
No, it does have something to do with me. I'm sorry for leaving you alone all this time. From now on, I'll be on your side, Mom.
At my daughter's kind voice, I burst into tears this time. Mayo's voice, trying to soothe me over the phone, felt like a heavenly salvation. A few days have passed since then, and my 72nd birthday came around. I've been in touch with Mayo ever since. Seeing my grown-up grandchild's picture and being moved to tears was just yesterday. Today also, I received a message from Mayo saying happy birthday. Just as I was about to reply with a thank you message, I heard the sound of the front door opening. John and Mary had come home.
Susan, we bought a fancy cake. Would you like to join us?
Mary, with a more vibrant expression than usual, brought a box of cake she was holding in her right hand closer to me. For the past month, she had been ignoring me, and suddenly celebrating feels baffling.
It's your birthday today, isn't it, Mom? We wanted to celebrate it together.
Seeing John smiling and saying this makes him seem like a creature I don't understand. The two of them, who are always short of money, wouldn't splurge on a fancy cake just because it's my birthday. This must be a trap. They are plotting to execute a strategy to entrap me. Thank you. Despite not trusting them at all, words of gratitude automatically spill from my mouth. I can't go on like this, playing into the hands of my son and his wife. I must avoid this situation. I will punish them for thinking I'm a fool. I quietly pulled out my phone from my pocket without them noticing. I promptly sent a message to Mayo saying, "Help me." Mayo quickly replied with understood, "Wait for me." I trust her, so I put my phone back in my pocket. Shall we have dinner before the cake? Wanting to buy as much time as possible, I proposed this to them.
That's a good point. We should eat properly.
Agree.
I assume they also didn't want to act suspiciously. As usual, I heated the meal I had prepared and set it on the table. While eating dinner, I anxiously waited for Mayo to come. Mayo should be living in the next county, but would she really come so soon? However, as we were finishing dinner, the doorbell rang.
Mom, big brother, long time no see.
John and Mary seemed surprised to see Mayo, who popped up from the entrance.
Me, Mayo, why are you here?
I came to celebrate Mom's birthday.
It seems she was planning to come and celebrate my birthday anyway, and she was already nearby. However, John probably thinks that Mayo and I are still on bad terms, so he is confused by her sudden visit.
What?
By the way, I have something to talk to you and Mary, big brother.
John and Mary looked at each other. I could see them silently asking, what should we do?
Not here, let's go upstairs. Mom, please wait.
Oh, okay. I wonder what my daughter is planning to talk to them about. I trust her, but since we haven't met for 5 years, I feel a bit uneasy about whether I can trust her completely. After a while, I received a message from my daughter, who was upstairs.
They are lacing a part of the cake with something. The bits with strawberries and grapes are drugged. I'm pretending to cooperate with them. Once I lied that I still held a grudge against Mom, they were easily fooled.
I knew it. Mayo was on my side. She was clever, and she exposed the John plan. Thank you, Mayo. Drugs, how scary. I'll find a way to swap out the cakes. After about 15 minutes, Mayo, John, and Mary came downstairs.
Well, I didn't expect Mayo to come. It was a good idea to buy a whole cake.
Let's eat it soon, everyone.
Mary smiles, impatient to start eating.
Oh, I'll get everything ready. Everyone, please sit down.
No, I'll help too.
It would have been best to swap the drugged cake at this point, but John wasn't so careless as to let Mayo take care of the preparations. But you will know soon. You're the ones who will be taken aback. Mayo and John brought the cut cake from the kitchen. My cake has strawberries and grapes, while everyone else's has just strawberries.
Let's eat.
Mary, overly excited and at maximum tension, bites into the cake.
Delicious. Susan, please eat too.
Mary urges me to eat the cake. At that moment, Mayo exclaimed, "Ah,
What's up?
I forgot to tell you both something earlier.
I can't let this ruin the plan." With a sense of urgency, she said, "Never mind, just follow me," and forcibly pulled the sons into the hallway.
What the? We were just at a good part.
From the other side of the hallway, I could hear John's annoyed voice. This is a great opportunity Mayo has given me. I remove only the grapes from the cake on my plate and swap it with John's cake. Then I put the grapes back on the switched cake on my plate. It looks just like it did before. No one will know that I've swapped the plates. As I was swapping the plates, the three of them returned to the living room. Mayo must have told them something to tide over the situation. What's with everyone? Think about the person who's been kept waiting in front of such a delicious-looking cake.
Sorry. Please, Susan, enjoy.
Was she too excited about what was about to happen, or was Mary unable to contain her overflowing joy? I ate a piece of the cake in front of the three of them. Wow, this is really delicious. It's so good it makes my tongue melt. I smoothly ate the second and third bites of the cake. As the amount of cake decreased, I could see John and Mary's faces gradually turning pale at the sight of me acting as if nothing was wrong. What's wrong? Aren't you eating?
Oh,
With an expression of not knowing what was happening, John ate the cake on his plate. He took a rather big bite, and I couldn't help but worry if he was okay eating that much at once. And at that moment, there was a loud noise, and my son toppled over backwards with his chair. The loud noise startled me and Mayo, and we both jumped. Looking closely, I could see John foaming at the mouth with his eyes rolled back. It must have been a sleeping pill, but I think there was quite a lot in there. Mayo, too, must not have expected that there would be so much sleeping medication in it, as she said, "Oh my."
Hey, get up.
In a voice that was drastically different from her previous tone, Mary shook John with irritation. Looking at Mayo, she even raised a piercing voice, saying, "Damn it." Well, serves you right. Trusting Mayo, who suddenly appeared and not doing your job at a crucial moment? How naive can you be? Now it's our turn. We will expose your true nature.
Gosh, if you don't wake up, our plan is ruined. We are going to steal the passbook with the inheritance from your father-in-law while Susan is asleep.
Even in this situation, Mary let out a natural remark and exposed the plan herself. Oh no, but it's too late now. Both Mayo and I were taken aback as we learned their scheme. Indeed.
What are you going to do now? I thought if I buttered up to Susan, I would inherit some wealth and our debts would be cleared.
A frustrated Mary scratching her head in irritation. Mayo is utterly shocked by her drastic change. I wonder if they really thought I wouldn't find out. It's impossible not to question the situation when one moment she's being nice and then suddenly she starts giving me a hard time.
Enough already. Our plans don't matter anyway. Please give me your husband's inheritance.
Unexpectedly, Mary bows her head obediently. Perhaps this is a strategy of direct negotiation. However, it's useless to pretend to be modest at this point. She has to fully accept the punishment for having belittled me so far. You know, do you really think I would seriously listen to such a request?
But I have been helping you out all this time. I never really wanted to live together. I put up with it because John told me we could get the inheritance.
I see. So, they have been squandering their money on gambling for a long time. I am at a loss for words. What I've realized is there's no reason for me to feel indebted to them at all. When did I ask you to live with me? You were the ones who bodged in. At the sound of my stern voice, Mary lets out a small shriek. Moreover, I know what you guys have been up to. John is addicted to gambling and deep in debt. You've been fired from your company, haven't you?
Well, why would you know that?
She probably didn't think I knew all that. Mary started trembling. I asked someone I know to look into it. And just so happens, her daughter works in the same company as you and told me everything. You stole money from the company and got caught. That's what happens when you do stupid things. Indeed, Mary was in charge of accounting and had been stealing a little money from the company every month to buy luxury goods. To the shopping addicted her, even stealing company money seemed justified. I heard your parents found out and disowned you. So, you can't rely on your supposedly wealthy family anymore.
That.
I was surprised. I had no idea you were doing such horrible things. And you want me to give my husband's inheritance to such a person? Say that again. This time, I'll let you taste the same medicine.
No, please, I'm sorry.
Mary ran out of the room clutching her head. I heard the front door open, and I knew she had left the house. Mayo next to me sighs in relief.
Mom, I can't believe you've been living with someone like that. I'm sorry for not doing anything until now.
No, I should apologize for not being able to take care of you when you were struggling with parenting. I thought she was an unfilial daughter when she didn't come home after a minor argument 5 years ago. But she has been caring about me. She's far better than my son, who's now lying face down after tipping over his chair. I'm moved when I think of how she came to help me today. It's thanks to her that I was able to protect my husband's inheritance.
Actually, I brought Linda too. She's close by. You'll meet her later.
Linda is my granddaughter, who was born 5 years ago. It's been 5 years since then. She must be a talkative child by now, since she's already 5 years old. I'm looking forward to it. After that, John and Mary left my house and returned to their condominium in the next town. However, I heard they were unable to pay their rent due to their debts, and had no choice but to leave the condominium. Of course, Mary wouldn't be able to return to her family, so I have no idea where they are or what they're doing now. I thought John was my precious son, but I feel relieved to have cut ties with him since he threatened my lifestyle. Instead, my daughter and granddaughter often come to visit now.
Granny, I have something for you.
What is it? Oh, you've made a flower out of paper.
Yeah, I made it at kindergarten. It's for respect for the aged day.
Thank you. I'll cherish it.
I have one for Grandpa too.
With that, Linda adorned her grandfather's picture with her paper flower. She has grown into a lively, wonderful child, and seeing her is now my greatest joy. I'm so grateful to Mayo, who saved me from John and Mary's wickedness that day, and gave me the precious gift of a grandchild.